Great to see you. Gotta ask you right off the top, man. Last year, how were things for your company? Because it seemed like every time I turned around, man, you guys had a new exhibit going, and the lineups were around the corner, man.
Well, it was awesome. We have had really such an amazing expansion. And we run both our live entertainment business, which just recently had playing Shylock last week at the Mervishes, and that show will be going to New York. We have a magic show that we produce in the West End called The Maze, which is also going to New York this summer. We have five shows in Vegas, including a show called Rouge, show called Wow, and then Potted Potter is in its sixth year in Vegas. That's a show that I've brought to Toronto many times, and I'm sure we'll come back on tour sometime soon. So that's our live business. Then we have our immersive and exhibition business. So in the last year, we've had the return of the Art of Banksy exhibit, which was here in Toronto. And was just a fabulous, successful, triumphant return. We started it in Toronto in 2018, and it's really what started us into all of this immersive and exhibition um, business. And this show has gone across the U.S. And then really, it was exciting because we went to Japan for 2 years with Banksy. So it was cool to bring that back. Um, we have Immersive Disney, which concluded its run. That's probably almost a year ago in Toronto, but has since gone to Montreal and Calgary and Edmonton in Canada, but also all around the world. Just finished a run in Vegas. It's in Branson, Missouri. And also, very excitingly, it's in its fifth city in Japan and soon going to Korea. So yeah, we've had a ton of shows. And all through this, we've had this incredible project of Immersive Van Gogh, which we started in 2020. So it's in its fifth year. And it's been here in Toronto all this time, but it's also toured 21 cities across the US. We sold 6 million tickets in the US. This 1 in 50 American citizens saw the show. So it really has been an extraordinary show. It's still running. It has been still running until I guess about a week ago in Toronto and Vegas. And we've switched over. We thought, it's about time. The audiences are still coming, but let's show them something new. It's been 5 years. Let's come up with something, a different approach to Van Gogh. Let's add new technology, new animation, new things that AI can help us do even better, and improve on what we have. So thus the new Immersive Van Gogh, which is opening this week in Toronto and Las Vegas.
Now, I was there for the when last time it was here, so I remember how great it was. And it's funny. This remind it, you're around the same age as me, so I can say this. Remember all the hype when back in the 70s when the King Tut exhibit was running everywhere, and I do believe even in Toronto.
Yep. So the King Tut exhibit, which was here at the in I believe 79,
Yeah, yeah,
is
no,
the highest selling exhibit the Royal Ontario Museum has ever had. And it was the model for us. We said, well, if those sales can exist for a blockbuster show in Toronto, can we get there too?
and it's funny because this particular one reminds me a little bit of that because it's like it could go away and come back and people still want more of it. It could go away and come back. There's something about this particular one that people love so much. What do you think it is? Do you think it's because of the display? Is it because of the mystery? Is it because of the artist? What do you think it is that people for this particular one they can't get enough of?
Well, I think Van Gogh is a fascinating character. His art is extraordinary and endures 150 years after he passed away. And then his life story is fascinating because he's of his struggles and his he's known for cutting off his ear and he's known for his suicide. And if you investigate a little bit further, for his incredible relationship with his brother, which is documented in hundreds and hundreds of letters, for his romantic relationships, but mostly for his innovative and extraordinary art that really touches people. And so I was amazed. We launched this in 2020 in the heart of COVID, and I was amazed how during COVID it was really touching people. Um, but its appeal. And I thought, well, okay, so kind of we're in isolation, and he suffered in isolation, and his struggles, maybe are reflective of the contemporary struggle that everyone was having individually, just sort of coping with and getting through COVID. And I thought, well, okay, so that's it. That's the explanation. But 5 years later, I'm beginning to understand that it's far beyond that. To have a show run 5 years in Toronto, like that's like Phantom of the Opera ran 5 years here.
Yeah.
This is mega hit territory, as you said, like King Tut was at the time, and it really speaks to the extraordinary appeal of Van Gogh.
So you kind of mentioned it earlier in the beginning, but let's go back to because as I said, I saw it 5 years ago, but now we're coming back. What are some of the additions? What are the differences? And what are some of the art that we're going to see in such a whole new perspective?
Well, listen, the art at the end of the day, Van Gogh is not creating new art. So a lot of the pieces that you'll see in this, such as Starry Night and Sunflowers and the cafe and his bedroom and all of those paintings that we all know are here again. But they're reinterpreted in a very different way, and we've been able to apply very different animation technologies to what we're doing. If you haven't seen one of these shows, it's projection on all the surfaces, on the floors, on the walls, on the architecture of the room. So it's all around you, and you're standing inside these paintings. And then they begin to move around you, and you're really in the universe, but it really comes alive in a way that you don't see. When you're looking at a painting, what's interesting about Van Gogh is that, and I can see it in the background. So you have Starry Night in your background. We're on Zoom here, and you can see the vivid movement and how his brushstrokes imply movement. So it's a natural kind of um, uh, basis to create a moving show, and I think that's also part of the appeal here. But so you're inside the world of Van Gogh, and within that world, we want to tell a story. And I think the first show that we did was touching people. I think the story maybe was a little bit harder to grasp. And one of the few criticisms that we had was we don't really learn enough about Van Gogh. So part of what we've endeavored to do this time is follow Van Gogh, and in particular, we followed his travels. So each section of the show covers a different period of his career and where he was, um, and sort of tries to take you from the environment into the paintings. And that makes a lot of sense because most of his paintings, or many of his paintings, are landscape and outdoor, and capture environments in different places. So that's part of what we're getting in this show that's new from the previous show. And then the other part, as I said, was we're able to apply new technologies to the animation, new perspectives in terms of how we do this. Of course, there's a whole new soundtrack that goes with it. The other thing that Toronto didn't quite get to see much of, because we added it in as we moved out of Toronto and into the US and into more and more cities, and sort of this show as it toured and had the incredible success that it did, grew and grew. But when we went to New York, and we had a 70,000 square foot space, which was significantly larger than any other space we'd been to. Um, I said, well, we should add something into this that would make it more creative and more amazing. And so we ended up creating a collaboration with a set designer named David Corrin. So David designed the sets for the musical Hamilton. So we created this relationship with David, and he created some set pieces around and about Van Gogh. So when you come to the show now, we've added these scenic elements that weren't there 5 years ago when you saw our original Van Gogh, that you can also experience. And they're sort of fun to photograph, but also just they're beautiful to look at and to experience, and adds to the whole thing.
You know what? As much as you've explained it, you have to see it. You have to be there. You have to experience it because even though we have this behind me here, I don't think folks understand the experience of seeing it in your environment because it's not just a still picture we're looking at. This is a whole universe that is going to surround you throughout the time that you're there. That's the beauty of this.
Absolutely. And also the scale of it. We're in the Toronto Star building at number 1 Yonge Street, in the old printing press rooms. and the ceilings are 45 feet high. And really just to be able to capture this, and you're seeing these paintings blown up to that size, and then you're immersed in them and they're moving around you. There's something in the grandeur of that scale that makes this totally unique.
Merch. We still have our merch, correct?
We still have our merch. So if you're looking for really the best of the Van Gogh coffee table books from Passion, or a Starry Night teddy bear, or apparel or jewelry, we have extraordinary variety of merch. And one of the things that we're adding back in is there was a set of Louis Vuitton Van Gogh purses. And they're a really hot item, and they were out a few years ago. They were designed by Jeff Koons. And so they're a hot item, and they're very hard to find and to get. So we will have one on display in the gift shop. So if you're not in that snack bracket, it's still interesting to see. But last time we had one in the store, it only lasted about 6 days, and someone bought it. So there's collectors and folks that really know this stuff. And we're really lucky to have gotten another one of these.
Amazing. Corey, thank you so much for speaking with me. Thanks for bringing this back
Thanks.
because, pandemic, everybody was all worried and everything, even though they came out for this. But the fact that now it's back, no masks, no anything, we can just go in there and fully experience this because it's an amazing exhibit. Can't wait to be back for this.
Absolutely. Thanks, Rudy. We'll see you over there.